What is going on, everybody? It is Cosmic Collection here, and today we're going to be reviewing the Feral Predator, bro. I was actually originally going to pass on this figure, but I rewatched the movie the other day, and honestly, man, I just had to have it. There's a lot to talk about in this review, but I can tell you right now, this is one of Hot Toys' best releases of the year. They really went all out. So with all that being said, let's just get right into it. So getting started with the box, it is a huge box, guys. Even when I saw the package outside my doorstep, it was way bigger than I was expecting. I really dig the artwork. It has the Predator mask with some green blood on it. But I try my best not to focus on boxes too much, so let's honestly just get this figure out. And as I'm unboxing this, hopefully you can get a better idea of how big this guy truly is. I could be wrong, so feel free to correct me in the comments, but I believe this is their biggest Predator to date. There is actually some more cool artwork on the back before you actually get the plastic tray with the figure out. But here he is, ladies and gentlemen, and before I even get him out, I'm honestly just impressed. I'm honestly not sure if it's coming across on camera, but he has this shine to him. It's almost like sweat or moisture. I don't know what it is, but it definitely makes him feel more alien-like, which I'm a huge fan of. And I mean, come on, bro. Look at that absolutely disgusting face. I will never be displaying him without the mask. His hair is made out of this nice rubber material, and they're all individual strands, so you can kind of just pose them however you want. And there's even some more plastic wrapping that I missed when I was taking it out. But yeah, we have a ton to cover with this guy. I'm just going over how the figure comes out the box. But before we actually get to the mask and all the cool accessories, I do actually just want to talk about the figure itself. The sculpt and paintwork here is some of the most impressive that I've ever seen from Hot Toys. I've had some of their other Predators, and this blows it out of the water in my opinion. And moving on to the torso, bro, it is completely seamless. I'm so glad that they changed it. If you hadn't seen it before, the prototype actually had a huge cut right down the middle that was really ugly. And honestly, guys, none of the exposed joints on this figure really bother me because I would say they're hidden pretty well, all except maybe the elbow joints. And if you're wondering, yes, he does still retain articulation through the seamless torso, and it's honestly a really good range of motion, especially for a figure of this size. But all right, enough talking about the figure. Let's actually get on to the mask, which is what I'm most excited for. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is easily one of the coolest Predator mask designs in my opinion. I absolutely love it. Of course, you do get the cord so that you can fully power up the light effect, and we're going to take a look at that very soon. But I do actually want to try to put this mask on camera for you guys, and honestly, it snaps right on. There's some pretty nice magnets on there, and once you set it up with the mask, you really can't beat this design. It's easily one of my favorite, if not my favorite Predator designs of all time. Scar Predator is definitely a close second, but honestly, man, I love Feral's design so much. Now we're actually going to be taking a look at the light up effect, because even though it's a tiny part of the figure, I honestly think it adds a whole bunch when you actually power it on. Basically, all you do is take the cord that's actually plugged into the mask, and you're going to plug it into this backpack thing that he has on his back. And because that is pretty unsightly, they do give you this plastic piece that you can kind of just put to cover it, so they were thinking ahead with that. And because the cord is literally the exact same as his rubber hair, it blends in perfectly. You literally can't even tell that there is a cord wiring this entire thing up. Honestly, it is actually a pretty seamless connection from the mask to the backpack. And if you're wondering how it looks from the front, honestly, not bad at all. You can easily hide that cord right there and just tuck it down so you don't even notice it. Now, as for the actual power supply, it's USB-C, and it's at the bottom of the backpack thing. You can't even notice it. So again, as long as you're using a black cord, it shouldn't stick out too much. Unfortunately, I only had a white cord for the video, but this is actually what it looks like with the light effect turned on, and I'm gonna dim down my ring light so you can actually get a better idea of it. I can confidently say in person, it comes across way brighter than it does on camera right now. And in my collection, I'm definitely gonna be doing my best to have this guy powered on at all times because it's just a nice little switch up to the design. All right, ladies and gentlemen, enough about this light up effect. I really just wanted to show you guys that. On to the very first accessory that we get, and it's actually this swap out pair of mandibles. This is to make him look like he's screaming or roaring. I'm pretty sure every single Hot Toys Predator comes with these. I mean, every Predator roars at some point in the movie. Swapping them out is pretty easy. There's no magnets. It's just little plastic pegs that plugs into the top of the face. But once you actually plug these screaming ones in, he looks way uglier than before, bro. This design is disgusting in the best way possible. I will not be displaying him without the mask, but I honestly don't blame any of you if you decide to. This is definitely a pretty convincing look in my opinion. One of my favorite parts about his design is that his mandibles are exposed even with his mask on, so you can actually have the screaming mandibles while he has the mask on. And I'm pretty sure he's the first Predator to ever have his mandibles exposed, and the first time that he roars in the movie was absolutely insane. I still love that scene. As for the hands, it is pretty disappointing. You don't get any fisted hands, but you get some grabbing hands and some shooting hands for his bow and arrow type weapon. Personally, I would have loved to see a choking style hand so that he can pick up other figures, but you know, I'm satisfied with what we got. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually going to be moving on to the entire second tray of accessories. This dude comes with a lot, and honestly, for the price they're charging, he better. Pretty sure anything that he touched in the movie is pretty much included with this figure, which is a really nice bonus. The first accessory that I'm dying to get out is the display base. It's the first thing that caught my eye when this guy got announced. And honestly, I saw this been getting some hate online, but I really like it. I definitely think that the paint applications are a bit soft, but in the display, it's really not going to stand out. And this diorama has a bunch of set dressing that you can add. You get Naru's axe that you can pretty much put anywhere you want. There's a bunch of like cuts in the wood that you can place the axe on. Personally, I actually like it a lot because it's just another standalone accessory. He can actually hold this if you want, because I'm pretty sure he does kill somebody with an axe at some point in the movie. And then you also get 2 swap out arrows, and you can put these in this haystack like high type thing that's right here. There's actually something else that you can do with these arrows that are really cool. I'm going to show you that later on in the video, but for now you can just plug them into the diorama display base, and honestly it just makes it look a lot more dynamic. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, once you add both arrows and the wooden axe, this is pretty much the completed diorama. I love it a lot. There's really nothing I would change. Maybe add some predator blood, that bright green blood that he has on the wood. But anyways, guys, onto the first accessory for the predator. It's actually his shield. I really dig the paint applications on this thing. It is unfortunately plastic, but the way that they painted it does convince me that it's some sort of thin looking metal. I really wish it retracted like it did in the movie, but it doesn't, unfortunately. But attaching it to the predator is really easy. It's a peg, not a magnet, unfortunately, but it still gets the job done in my opinion. And once you actually attach it to his arm, it's a really snug fit, and you can pretty much rotate it any way you want for whatever poses you have in mind. The next accessory is actually the bow and arrow type of weapon that he uses in the film a lot. I actually really love the design on this thing, and you can actually insert the arrow that it comes with inside the weapon. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to do, I'm not gonna lie, because the hole is really tiny, but honestly, once you set it up, I think it's gonna look sick. We're definitely gonna pose him with this later in the video. The next accessory is of course gonna be the predator wrist blades that come with pretty much every single predator. I really wish these were metal, but they're just cheap plastic. Thankfully though, the paint applications are pretty well done. You do get this chain style bladed weapon. I ain't even gonna lie to you, I don't remember him using this in the movie. I'm sure it was on screen for like 0.3 seconds, but it's a pretty cool design. Of course, you get his longer spear type weapons that you actually can combine. This is one of my favorite parts. They peg into each other to create the full weapon. The connection really isn't that secure, so I don't know how I'm gonna get him to hold this, but it's really long in person, and I can't wait to pose him with it at the end of the video. Phew, ladies and gentlemen, we're finally on to the last accessory, and it is actually the closed up version of the spear. It's nothing special, but it actually does magnetically attach to his back, which is pretty cool. I love when you can store accessories on the figure. So ladies and gentlemen, before we get to the posing segment of the video, I wanted to lay out all of his accessories like I usually do in my reviews and talk about whether or not the value is there. In my opinion, you're honestly getting a lot of really high quality accessories for the figure. Obviously, my favorite being the display base. You pretty much get every single weapon that he touched in the movie that was his own. The figure itself was really well made, and the retail price for this guy was like $410. I want to say, I could be wrong, so I think that personally it's a good deal. I definitely wouldn't pay anything over retail for this simply because the accessories aren't real metal, and the paint applications on some of the accessories like the axe are, they're pretty soft, but I'm still personally satisfied with all the accessories that we get, and I think that dynamic posers are going to have a bunch of fun posing this guy up in the display. Size comparisons, this is what he looks like next to, your basic Tom Holland Spider-Man figure, which I feel like everybody owns, so it's a pretty safe comparison. And like I said at the beginning of the video, dude, he is one big boy. I do think he'll still fit in the DTOF pretty comfortably. Maybe his head might be a little bit too close to the ceiling, but I'm actually pretty happy with this size. I unfortunately don't have any other predators to compare it to, but I will soon. So now, ladies and gentlemen, before we actually do my first pose, there's one thing I wanted to talk about, and that was the exposed joints. Like I said, they actually don't bother me that much. It's really just the ones on the elbow that are pretty ugly to me. Thankfully, the torso is seamless, because if it wasn't, I would probably hate that. But I think they hit all the leg joints pretty well. And the best part is you can actually hide these ugly arm joints at the top if you just bring his hair forward. I saw somebody do this on Instagram, and honestly, I feel like it's a must if you have this figure. So yeah, guys, once you bring his hair to the front, pretty much the only exposed joints that are noticeable is the elbow joints. But I still don't mind them because it means you can leave this guy posed in poses like this where the elbows are bent, and you don't have to worry about like his seamless arm tearing or anything. This is just a super basic pose. We're gonna get more dynamic later, but I really wanted to highlight how cool this display base really is. It really sets the scene, especially if you've seen the movie. And I honestly just can't get over how cool this guy looks in person. Of course, you guys know I had to throw in a roaring pose in there, and this is where like the Hot Toys detail really comes through, because the amount of paintwork on these mandibles is truly insane. It's a shame that I'm never gonna use them. I'm just gonna cover it with the mask, but it still looks sick, and you can even leave the mask around the display base for like some set dressing. The next pose I want to do was actually him holding the mask, because I'm pretty sure his mask gets knocked off a few times in the movie, and there's actually one scene where we do see him putting it back on. So honestly, it's a pretty cool pose if you want to have him in the display doing this. Again, I personally will not, because it just exposes that ugly ass head that I'm really not trying to look at when I wake up at 9 a.m. But still definitely a really cool option nonetheless. All right, guys, onto a more dynamic style pose just to show you that you actually can pose. His articulation is pretty good. He has drop down legs. Whether or not you hate the exposed joints, they definitely help a lot with articulation. That means you can leave this guy posed for however long you want, and like his seamless arms aren't going to tear because he doesn't have them. I really love how the Predator wrist blades look. I really wish they were metal, because then they would be more shiny, but it still looks cool here. I definitely recommend checking out some other photographers online like Zord Photography. They did some insane poses with this guy. Me personally, I'm a cool museum pose guy. This is pretty much how I'm gonna have him in my display, I'm pretty sure. Holding the shield with a massive spear, just looking menacingly. This just looks so sick. sick to me. I know it might be boring to some of y'all, but I love how this looks, man. Obviously, like I said, I have the hair covering those ugly exposed joints. And I'll definitely be using this display base in the case. I don't care if it doesn't fit. I'm gonna make a way. But I would love to know down below, what do you guys think of this Predator design? Is it one of your favorites? Oh, and like I said earlier, there is something really cool you can do with these arrows. I'm not the person that came up with this. I saw this on Instagram. Basically, you can take each of these arrows and you can peg them into the different points on his arm. And bro, this just makes him look so much more badass. After trying this out in person, this is absolutely how I'm going to be displaying mine. He just looks so menacing with the arrows and the shield and the spear. And I didn't want to end the video without showing you guys what the bow and arrow accessory looks like. He used it in the movie, and honestly, it was really badass. I personally be using it in my display. You know what? Probably, but I'm not going to have him aiming it. I'm just going to have him holding it, you know, facing down. Sort of something like this. So I have him holding pretty much every possible accessory that he could be holding. Maybe I'll even throw those Predator wrist blades on there. But honestly, man, if you're a fan of the Prey movie, it's honestly a no-brainer. Hot Toys went all out for this release. I genuinely can't complain. I think it's super high quality. He's definitely not perfect, but the issues I have with him are super minor. Huge thank you to Pop Collectibles. That's where I got mine if you guys want to grab your own. And yeah, guys, thank you for watching.